Hi everyone, my name is Max Hausner. I'm an application engineer here at Ansys, and today I'm going to demonstrate the new coverage tool within STK 12.8. Coverage is a feature within STK that many of you have likely already used, and many of our users noted that there's a lot of overhead analysis and setup time that goes into setting up a coverage definition. And that makes sense. You have to set up your grid points, your area of interest, the assets you're going to use to cover that area, and then you additionally need to set up your figure of merit and what you want to pull out of your coverage definition. So in STK 12.8, we are introducing a new coverage tool that helps you optimize that workflow and create a coverage definition and figure of merit in a much shorter time. So to show this tool within STK, I've created this example scenario. Here we see a sample LEO imaging constellation and a whole set of ground sites that I've already modeled. Note that these ground sites are mostly just for situational awareness, since what I'm going to be doing is a revisit time computation with these imaging satellites over the United States. I'll go ahead and insert a new coverage definition and figure of merit with the coverage tool now. Opening the Insert STK Objects window, navigating to Coverage Definition, and selecting Coverage Tool as our insert method. Coverage tool method is unique to inserting a coverage definition object into a scenario and enables you to do the following. Create a coverage definition object with your specifications of regions, assets, grid points, and graphic settings, and create a figure of merit object with your specification of type and accompanying type specifications. This tool allows you to configure a coverage definition and figure of merit in a matter of seconds when it might normally take you minutes to go through that workflow. Here is the new coverage tool in STK 12.8. Up at the top of the coverage tool, this is where you can set your name for your coverage definition object and specify the interval or start and stop times for the coverage analysis period. I'll call this revisit time and leave the interval at its default. Below this, we see the regions section. This is where we set our regions to define our coverage grid. From this drop-down menu, we see that there are 4 options to define our regions: area targets, area of interest, region file, and state/countries. I'll be selecting state/countries to select the United States. From here, I'll move it over to our selected regions. Within the regions section, there's also this Check for Holes checkbox. If you select this checkbox, the grid generator will not produce grid points inside any holes in the regions in the selected regions list. We'll leave this enabled for now. Next, we can set our grid point granularity. We have options to define it from this drop-down menu here. For this example, I'm going to set our grid point granularity to 1 degree. Next is the Assets section. The coverage tool method automatically populates this field with all possible objects from the object browser. You can double-click an object to assign it or make it active to a coverage area. For our revisit time analysis, I'm going to select the cameras constellation, which is a constellation of all the optical imagers on my imaging satellites. After this is set, we can now define our figure of merit. You can use the Type drop-down menu to select your figure of merit type. This is the same list of figure of merit types that you're normally able to use. Since we're interested in revisit time, I'm going to select revisit time as our figure of merit type. I'll set our compute value from maximum to minimum and leave the rest at default. The last section of our coverage tool is this Show Graphics box. You can select this checkbox to have STK display the coverage definition object in the 3D graphics window. You can click the static radio button to have STK display an unchanging figure of merit image, or click the animation radio button to have STK display a figure of merit image that changes over time. I'm going to enable Show Graphics and select the animation radio button. We can then set our level attributes of the graphics, including our ramp start color, our ramp end color, and the number of levels. And now we have our coverage definition and figure of merit defined. From here, I'll click OK. And now, if we zoom in, we can see that we have a fully defined coverage definition and figure of merit for revisit time. If I animate the scenario, I can see that my animation graphics are working for revisit time, just as I would if I were to set up the coverage definition and figure of merit separately. I was able to save a lot of time by using the coverage tool to define my coverage definition and figure of merit and going through this optimized workflow. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with us at support@agi.com.